Go. Caitlin Clark come out and say what needed to be said. She stood on business and said, we need to play in games. And y'all that are signed to these other leagues that are compromised, stop playing with the people who are not. Stop playing games. Let's get to it. Ain't nothing to it but to do.
So here's what just unfolded. Kelsey Plum, the first vice president of the WNBA Players Association, just planted her feet firmly during contract talks. But what made this situation blow up happened only hours earlier. Caitlin Clark, the league's biggest star, sent a completely different message while speaking at USA basketball camp in North Carolina. The face of the league went public, urging both sides to compromise and emphasizing that players must be on the floor this season. Plum responded sharply, saying the negotiations have been extremely frustrating and that both sides are still nowhere near an agreement. Two elite players. Two totally opposite messages. And here's the twist. One of them also holds ownership in a competing league.
Plum's response is in this. This is crazy, man. Like, you're signed to Unrivaled. You got equity in Unrivaled. Like, y'all are somewhat compromised on the situation to a degree, even if you're it's just weird, man. It's a little weird. Y'all on the board, but y'all got equity in the competitor leagues. It's all a little conflict of interest. Conflict of interest. Here it says, Indiana Fever star Caitlin Clark said Friday that while WNBA players will fight for everything we deserve during their current round of collective bargaining agreement negotiations.
Make no mistake, Clark wasn't speaking off the cuff. Standing at Duke University on January 10th, 2025, she clearly stated that fans are starving for live games and that both sides need to give ground if a deal is going to happen. This wasn't a casual comment tossed into a light interview. This was the league's crown jewel, the same player who pulled 3.2 million viewers to WNBA broadcasts last season, publicly pressuring her own union to move forward. She warned that negotiations are reaching a critical stage, which is polite language for saying time is almost gone and action is needed immediately. And here's where things start to unravel. The league and the players' union already delayed their original deadline once, pushing it to January 19th, giving themselves 6 extra weeks past the December cutoff. 3 of those weeks are already gone. And if Plum's comments are accurate, they're still far from an agreement. That's alarming when half of your safety window is already burned after missing the first deadline entirely.
A second extension of the current CBA through January 9th, 2026, as both sides continue to work toward a new deal. But questions persist on whether both sides will come to an agreement by then, or even whether a work stoppage could be on the horizon. Now, this is what Kelsey Plum had to say. This is what Kelsey Plum had to say. Kelsey Plum, first vice president of the WNBPA, said at Camp Friday that the talks have been a little disheartening. Just the frustration.
The league has now presented its latest proposal, featuring a 2026 maximum salary with a guaranteed $1 million baseline. When projected revenue sharing is added, top-tier players could earn more than $1.2 million per year, while the salary cap would surge to $5 million in 2026, continuing to rise annually based on revenue growth. On paper, that's a dramatic jump. At present, the maximum salary is just $241,984, meaning top earnings would more than quadruple. But the union is pushing for something much broader. They want a full restructuring of the salary system, a new revenue-sharing model, mandatory upgrades for team facilities and staffing, and expanded benefits packages. Those final demands are reportedly where talks keep collapsing. The league is open to 7-figure salaries, but only if players give up certain housing stipends and vehicle allowances to balance the numbers. The union isn't willing to trade one benefit for another. They're holding out for everything.
Players' priorities are transforming the league's salary structure and revenue sharing system, introducing standards for team facilities and staffing, and garnering more robust benefits. The league has said it wants to substantially increase players' salary and other cost commitments while also incentivizing owners to continue to invest in operating the business and building sustained profitability. The most recently reported league proposal.
This is precisely where Caitlin Clark breaks away from the union's overall strategy. She isn't seated on the negotiating committee at all. Instead, Lexi Hull, Lexi Brown, and Aaliyah Boston represent the Indiana Fever as union player delegates. Brianna Stewart holds the role of union treasurer. Clark receives updates from them about the talks, but she's not inside the room shaping decisions. That distance gives her the freedom to say things others won't publicly acknowledge. Some battles are worth fighting to the end, while others demand compromise. Listen closely to how she framed it. She made it clear that players will absolutely defend what they've earned and what they deserve, but both sides still need to meet somewhere in the middle. That's not surrender or weakness. That's strategic thinking with a long-term picture in mind. She understands that demanding everything with zero flexibility can leave you with nothing at all. And nothing means no season. No season means no games. No games mean no visibility. And without visibility, all the momentum built in 2024 disappears overnight.
That's what that line should have said. They are looking to capitalize off of Caitlin Clark, because if there was no Caitlin Clark in this league, they would have already agreed on a deal. Trust and believe, they wouldn't be doing all this hard negotiating and this and that if there was no Caitlin Clark that came in this league and brought the numbers, brought the viewership, brought everything. Simple as that. Simple as that. Here it says, what I'm proud of is that we play with a group of women that are united and we're standing on something, Plum said. Chicago Sky All-Star Angel Reese echoed that sentiment. I think everybody's really intentional about what we want. I think the players in WNBA have done a great.
Here's what Clark clearly sees that others seem to be overlooking. The WNBA just experienced the most successful year in its history, and that surge was driven by her presence. Attendance at Indiana Fever games skyrocketed almost instantly. Television ratings shattered records across the board. Merchandise sales exploded. Corporate sponsors rushed in faster than anyone anticipated. This wasn't slow, incremental growth over years. This was the Caitlin Clark effect, and the basketball world knows it. Even reporting around the negotiations reflects this reality. When they say the league wants to capitalize on recent growth, what they're really referencing is what Clark delivered throughout 2024. But moments like this don't last forever. If there's number 2025 season, casual fans who just discovered the WNBA will shift their attention elsewhere. They'll move on. Interest fades. Momentum vanishes. And here's the uncomfortable truth most people won't say out loud. Many players may never get another opportunity like this again. This is their chance to secure life-changing financial security. Clark is warning them not to ruin it by refusing to compromise at all. But Kelsey Plum isn't accepting that viewpoint. She's publicly stated that players are fully united and standing firm on their principles. Angel Reese echoed that sentiment, stressing that players are intentional about their demands and committed to sticking together. That's classic union solidarity language, the kind you hear when lines are being drawn for a prolonged fight.
24 number one pick in women's basketball sensation has called this the biggest moment the WNBA has seen, making it all the more important that we find a way to play this next season. A work stoppage could emerge if the owners opt to lock out the players or the players opt to strike. I think there are different things that we can find ways to say no. We certainly deserve that, and we're not going to compromise on that. And there are other things we can probably compromise on. You want to understand both sides and be respectful of both sides, but at the end of the day, come to a compromise. Caitlin Clark is the mature one.
Now, let's address the massive issue sitting in plain sight that few want to confront directly. Kelsey Plum is a co-founder of Unrivaled, the 3-on-3 league launching in Miami this month. She holds ownership equity in that league. She signed a multi-million-dollar deal with Unrivaled. She even sits on its board of directors. So when WNBA negotiations drag on and the risk of losing the 2025 season grows more real, what's the obvious outcome? Players will need another place to play, and Unrivaled is perfectly positioned as that alternative. This is exactly what people mean when they talk about conflicts of interest. Plum is negotiating on behalf of 144 WNBA players, yet she personally benefits if talks collapse and players seek other leagues. And she isn't alone. Brianna Stewart, the union treasurer actively involved in negotiations, is also a co-founder of Unrivaled with substantial equity. Nafisa Collier holds the same type of stake. These are the figures shaping union strategy, and all of them have significant financial interests in a direct competitor to the WNBA. Clark doesn't carry that same conflict. She isn't signed to Unrivaled. She isn't locked into Athletes Unlimited or any alternative league. Her earning power is entirely tied to the WNBA's success. If the league doesn't play in 2025, she loses a full year of her prime. She can't simply pivot to another league with guaranteed money waiting. That's why her perspective is fundamentally different. She needs the WNBA to succeed. There is no backup option for her.
Clark at this point in time. Get down in the comments and let me know what you think. This is Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share.
So here's where things stand as negotiations approach the breaking point. The hard deadline is January 19th, 2025. That's less than 2 weeks away, but realistically, a deal must be finalized earlier to give teams time to prepare. Training camps typically begin in April. Free agency usually opens in February. If there's no agreement by late January or early February, the entire 2025 season is in serious danger. And current reporting suggests the gap between both sides remains wide. According to statements from union leadership, Caitlin Clark has gone public urging compromise and common ground. She's emphasizing that this is the most critical moment in WNBA history and that getting players on the court this season is essential. She's openly acknowledging that a full work stoppage is possible, whether through a lockout or a strike. And she's actively trying to prevent that worst-case scenario. She's positioning herself as the calm, pragmatic voice in these talks. Kelsey Plum, meanwhile, is taking the opposite route. She continues to stress how frustrating negotiations have been and how far apart the two sides still are. She's rallying players around unity and unwavering principles. That kind of rhetoric signals preparation for a prolonged battle, not a willingness to meet in the middle and make a deal.